Hello everyone. I'm back once again. Last time I presented to you a topic that was the first poem. Now this time I'm going to start with the first lesson of the prose that is from the book Flamingo, and ironically the name of the first chapter is the last lesson. Uh, the last lesson by Alphonse Daudet. This is actually a French story translated in English. The story was written in the background of this Franco-Prussian War. Uh, Maybe you have no idea what Franco-Prussian was. There was a long war period between France and Prussia. And you know what is Prussia? Prussia was the original earlier name of Germany. So don't be confused when you find some word related as German or Germans or something like that. They were actually the Prussians. So Germany, under the leadership of Bismarck, who is also known as the Iron Man. Similarly, we have one Iron Man in our also country, that is Sardar Patel. So, under the leadership of Bismarck, a unification of Germany was done. And once the unification was over, Germany, that is Prussia, started increasing its territory. And it was engaged in the many wars with France. And the background of the story is that Franco-Prussian War, when some of the territories of France were captured by Germany. Now, this story, we find certain elements which have been presented by the author through the story. First of all, the pain of losing freedom. Losing freedom of using one's own language, losing freedom because you are no more of your own country, your part of the country has been captured by someone. The second thing which is raised over here is the attitude of procrastination. Now, this is an attitude which I feel is present in many of the people. What is actually procrastination? Unnecessarily delaying the things. That we have enough time, we'll do it. We have enough time, we'll do it. And then what happens? Ultimately, it is just a crisis point, and then the things go out of hand. So that attitude of procrastination has also been highlighted. The third thing which has been highlighted in the story is the chauvinism. Now, what is this chauvinism? Don't pronounce it as chauvinism, it is chauvinism. Chauvinism is a actually negative aspect of feeling of superiority. Now, feeling of superiority in such a way that we start considering ourselves to be the most superior, and we start looking down upon the things. So there are many sort of chauvinism present in this world. Gender chauvinism, racial chauvinism, religious chauvinism. Now, in the story, the thing which has been presented is the linguistic chauvinism. So these are the things which are presented. Now, this entire story is from the viewpoint of two main characters. And these two main characters are Anne Hamel, who is a teacher, and Franz, who is a student and also the narrator of the story. So remember, the narrator of the story is Franz, not Alfonso Daudet. Alfonso Daudet is author who, through Franz, tells the whole story. And so, if you look at the story, it is in a first-person narration style. Now, in the beginning of the story, you see, the narrator says, "That day I was late for the school. That day when the story is all about. So that day I was late for the school, and I was in a great dread of being scolded. Dread means fear. He was in fear of being scolded because master has given him the lessons to prepare, rules of participle, and he has not done. So there were two things. First, he was late. Secondly, he had not prepared his lesson. And so uh, there was a temptation in his mind that he should not go to school. And anyway, he says that the weather outside was very warm, sunny, birds were chirping, the Prussian soldiers were drilling. Drilling means they were doing the march past and parade and all that. And he felt that he should not go to the school. So these were the two reasons. Firstly, he had not completed his lesson. Secondly, he felt the weather outside very tempting. And so there was for one moment, this temptation not to go to school, but he controlled his temptation and started moving towards the school. On the way, he passed the town hall. Now, town hall, still there is existence of some town hall, which once upon a time were considered to be the most important building of a particular town where important meetings and activities were done. Now, he saw a large crowd in front of the bulletin board, notice board. There was something written over there. And looking at the crowd, Franz remembered that in the past 2 years since the war had started, all the bad news, they were delivered through this bulletin board. The lost battle, the orders of the officer, and various other things. And when he saw the crowd standing in front of that bulletin board, one thought passed his mind that what could be worse now, what could be more. But he did not stop. He continued. There was blacksmith standing with his apprentice. He saw Franz running. He called him from back, saying that there was no need to hurry. He had enough time to go to school. Franz thought that he was making a fun of him. He did not listen to him, and he continued running till he reached the street outside the school. Now here, the whole scenario was totally different. Usually on the school days, the opening of the school was very much noisy. There was a sound of opening and closing of the desk, the children reciting their lesson in unison, means all together, and the rattling of the terrible iron ruler of the master. But today, everything was silent. There was no noise, as if it was a Sunday school. Now, Franz had decided that he will take advantage of that commotion. Now, what is this commotion? Commotion of too much of movement and noise. And he had thought that he would take advantage of that commotion and enter the classroom through window without being noticed. But now today it was not possible. He looked through the window and he saw all his classmates sitting over there. And he saw his master also. Now he had no other option but enter through the door. And he was again very much afraid that he will be scolded. But then another unusual thing happened. M. Hamel, the master, instead of scolding, he asked him kindly to go to his seat. He said that it is good that you have come, little Franz, we were about to start. Now Franz jumped onto his seat, and when he calmed down, he started observing, and he saw that there was too many unusual things that day in the classroom. The first unusual thing that he observed was complete silence. Second unusual thing, master did not scold. And now he saw that the master was dressed in his most important dress, which is special dress, which he wore only on the special days. He saw that the back benches, which were usually empty, were no longer empty. They were occupied by the village elders. It was former mayor, it was former postmaster, an old houser who had brought a primer, book of alphabet. And the whole scenario of the classroom was completely serious. Franz was thinking that, what could be the reason behind this? And at that moment, M. Hamel sat on his chair, and in that grave, kind voice, he started addressing the class. He said that, this is the last lesson. The order has come from Germany, that is Berlin, that there will be no more teaching of French in the towns of Alsace and Lorraine. The new German teacher would be joining from the day after. And as it was the last lesson, he appealed to the students to be very attentive. Now this was something which was out of the blue. for French. He had not imagined this. He was thunderstruck. He was completely shocked. He had not, even in his wildest of the dreams, ever imagined that such a situation is going to happen. And then his entire attitude changes over here. He regrets missing the classes. He feels that he regrets those moments when he should have been in the class, but instead he was outside playing or collecting the bird's eggs or something like that. He looked at his books, which for a moment ago seemed to be a nuisance, a burden, but now they seem to be lifelong friends. His attitude towards his teacher also changed. He felt sympathetic towards his master, whom he considered to be cranky and strict. And now he realized what was the reason behind the crowd at the bulletin board. Maybe this was the news. And he also realized why these village elders were sitting at the back of the class, because they were also really very sorry that they had not attended the school as much as they should have. And this was their way of paying respect to the master for his 40 years of his service and to their country, which was no more theirs.